Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon in Portugal and good morning still in the US. So it is my pleasure to introduce Alexandre Ferreira da Silva. Alexandre is the first speaker of this new series that we are launching at the CMU Portugal partnership. So it's a spotlight, it's a 30 minutes that we call Research Unplugged. And we have the honor of having this first session with Alexandre Ferreira da Silva. Alexandre is a professor in the Department of Industrial Electronics at the University of Minho and currently serves as the National Co-Director of another partnership, the MIT Portugal Program. Under the CMU Portugal program, Alexandre has served as the PI for one exploratory project named Prometheus, and it is a quite successful one as it has led to the development of Prometheus, that is a satellite that was launched in January 2025. So thank you very much for being here, Alexandre, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for the invitation and for this time to showcase a little bit about the story of this little satellite we call Prometheus 1. And that is a very interesting mission. And just for kind of a context, it was a project that was submitted, the proposal in 2021, started in 2022, and we still, and although the funding has finished in 2023, the project is continuing to spread beyond the time frame of the funding, and that's why the major milestone was achieved last year when we launched the satellite into orbit. But I will tell you a little bit of the story about it, and the storyline has been updating as long as we go as we went through the project, because when we decided to make this proposal, I think we didn't, or at least I didn't anticipate it, how Portuguese space ecosystem would evolve in these recent years. So it's quite interesting. So for those that are more or less aware of Portuguese space roadmaps and this strategy to put several satellites in orbit over the next years. We call the Atlantic constellations, a kind of 16 satellites in orbit between Portugal and Spain. And you can find a lot of news articles about this and the importance of it. Sorry to be in Portuguese, because these are Portuguese news articles. Not sure if there is foreigner participants, but it's all about a large number of satellites, and regarding this large number of satellites, the need for training and education on this topic. Putting objects in space is quite hard. The space environment is quite harsh, and we need to train as soon as possible, or trying to within our classrooms, several students that then can become engineers in satellite engineering and work on these major projects for Portugal in terms of its space roadmap. So this is a quote that I recorded from the Universidade, that is the executive general manager for the New Space Portugal agenda, the PRR agenda, which is one of the largest PRR agendas that we have in Portugal for space, and clearly states that we require high qualified human resources that are trained and formed within our universities for this Atlantic constellation. And as all of the space missions, you need a mission. If you want to put an object, the first thing that everyone will ask you is, what is the mission? And Prometheus 1 had a very interesting mission, because it was not for Earth observation or communications. It was clearly for learning. Prometheus 1 is a pedagogical tool. what we wanted to have is a tool that we could use at our classrooms to teach our students, aerospace students, engineering students, electrical engineering students, or mechanical engineering students, physics engineers, a lot of major programs that we could use this tool at the same time that we have the same tool in space, because many of the educational kits that we have, and I can show you a few, they are great for classrooms, but they are not a very good replica of an object that can really go to space. They have different materials, the components are a little bit different, etc., etc. So we wanted to avoid that difference, and so we wanted a tool that could work on both environments, in space and also inside of the classroom. So that was our mission. And then we could use that tool in different programs, as I said, and always on a kind of hands-on, so learn by doing, kind of replicating what we do when we want to launch a satellite, replicate that process within our students. So you can find books about the process, but books always tell you a very kind of fairy tale story, because it's always perfect, it's kind of black and white. But the process is not that simple. It's quite strange, and we wanted to replicate the process as it is with our students. So that's the background. Have a satellite that could be on these two worlds, space and classrooms. So throughout the project, we kind of develop with the CMU team a new version of a pocket cube. A pocket cube is a kind of a very small satellite. It's of the size of a Rubik cube. It's a 5 by 5 by 5 centimeters. It's very small. It only weighs 250 grams. Cannot go beyond that because it's kind of a standard for pocket cubes. If you are going with this form factor of 5 by 5 by 5, then you cannot go beyond 250 grams. And in terms of electronics or what it goes inside, he has some interesting elements, especially for students. He has an onboard computer that allows to be programmed in Python, which usually is the preferred language, programming language of our students. They learn in the first year. It seems like they only want that language, so it can be programmed in Python. He has also a payload, a very simple payload, kind of a cell phone camera. But the interesting part of this camera is that he has a kind of its own microcontroller unit, and that allows machine learning, image classification. We were kind of testing this. It was not our major element of the satellite, but we wanted kind of as a side project. Okay, so let's build this satellite and let's try to put this camera and see if we can do kind of a image classification in space. He has a radio that is tuned on a specific frequency, and for our purposes was in amateur radio band. Means that anyone in the world could listen to our satellite, which would be great, especially for tracking it, because we are here in Portugal trying to control it. But it would be great if other people around the globe could provide data of the beacon that it was broadcasting autonomously. So that's why we were using kind of an amateur radio, so that was open to everybody. And then he has some kind of system to control the attitude. In such a small form factor, we couldn't use reaction wheels or other elements like that. So we were using magnet torquers, which are not the best solution, but is the solution that was able to be put inside of this satellite. And Pocket Cube is like this. So this is my Pocket Cube. This is one of the engineering units that we have here to play with our students when they want to do some works or if they want to see what's inside. It's quite a very small element, as I told you. And so that I can put this in a context, going back to what was the beginning, and now I can put this slide if and this is a line that I couldn't imagine when I was proposing this project, because so for those that are more or less acquainted with the space history of Portuguese participation, our first satellite was launched in 1993, more than 30 years ago. And we just returned to space in 2024 with the MH1. What was a little bit larger satellite was a 3U satellite. Then on July 24, we also Portugal launched the IST-SAT-1, which was a CubeSat developed by Technical University under the program of Fly or Sat of ESA. And so they have this program that they kind of accept applications from different universities, and they can launch one of your satellites. So it was a satellite that IST developed, and it was launched in July of 2024. And then in January of 2025, we were able to launch ours, the Prometheus 1, and also alongside with ours, the first Portuguese commercial satellite was PioSat-2, in kind of acknowledged to the PioSat-1, launched by Luso-Space. And this was what happened until the end of last year. And for those that know, a couple of weeks ago, we just launched a few other satellites for the Atlantic Constellation, between SEA, Portuguese Air Force, and other elements as well, other companies or entities, as well as Luso-Space as well, launched another Portuguese constellation. But this is the previous slide was a kind of a timeline. But now we can look at this as a context in terms of the value chain of the satellites and the capacity that we are kind of acquiring when we are launching this. So Prometheus 1 is, as I told you, the mission is kind of education. It's for early years in the university, kind of undergrad and grad studies. Then you have like the IST-SAT-1, which is a little bit more advanced satellite, a bigger one as well. It's a CubeSat, it's a 1U, and it's more for research. So kind of like the postgrad level of students, and for kind of PhD research, things like that. It's a very good satellite. It's still working. It's a very good satellite. Then you have MH1 from SEA, what's more like on R&D. So it's kind of testing some systems with hyperspectral cameras, things like that, to observe the Atlantic. And then there was PioSat-2, which was the first commercial one. This was for commercial services, or it's kind of as the CEO of Luso-Space said, it's kind of a ways for the ocean, for the vessels, kind of defining their routes and things like that. So if you put this on context, by the end of 2025, we were able to close the value chain. So from the education until the first commercial one, which is great. So it was the first time that we can now confirm that we have in Portugal the capacity to launch satellites. And this was very relevant for us. And because from this point beyond, it's kind of a learning and much more testing, and because we have the experience. And also, these experiences kind of spread across the country, which is also good. So I have a few videos. I know that sometimes with the videos, the sound may cut a little bit, but I wanted to showcase a little bit the experience of the Prometheus one in terms of what we can do in classroom and what we learned on while doing the project. So the first thing that we kind of did after we built our satellites and getting to the final version was kind of tutorials of how to build these satellites. So we have like YouTube videos for our students to follow and to see how you can build the satellites. Then I have a video here that will showcase the testing and the validation. So every time that we want to launch a satellite or an object in space, it needs to be qualified. So it needs to survive the journey up to space until it's released into space. So in terms of these pocket cubes, it meant kind of a mandatory qualification for vibration testing. So you had to go through the vibrations of the launch profile. so that we could guarantee that it will survive the launch before being deployed into space. So I have one of these testing. So it's also interesting because we failed the first attempt of this testing. We get there and it failed. So we need to come back and kind of redesign one thing. We did a mistake while we were assembling it. Kind of we learned the lesson. We went back to the qualification facility. We qualified it, and we got like the green light, kind of the report that we needed to deliver to our integrator. And that will be the third video, kind of the integration of the satellites. Kind of when you take the satellite to your not the rocket, but to the seats that will host your satellite. Then they will put the seat on the rocket later on, but we can kind of need to deliver it, and that's why we needed the report for the qualification. Otherwise, they will say that you are not allowed to put your satellite inside of this pod. And then the last video is kind of our students, kind of a little video of showing our students playing in a classroom with it. So let's see how it goes. So here, first one, kind of a quick video. We did these tutorials. It's on YouTube for other students to follow. How to assemble it. Anyone can do it, be honest. This was the qualification. It was the inspiration on Alba Orbital, which is an integrator. They work specialized on these form factors of the satellites. Ours is the purple one, this one. And then our students. So just to showcase a little bit about it. So I have to kind of acknowledge the partnership, because the partnership here serves as a catalyst for it. It was very important because IST had the experience of IST's ISAT-1, and CMU had the experience of small satellite development. And it was great to speed up the process and for us to learn how to do this and to kind of accomplish this within 1 year time frame. And just very quickly, all the current status to complete this presentation and this introduction. And so
9, 8, 7.
I'll put here, so like this. So we launched in January 14 last year. So we watched it, we did a launch party over here at the university. After the launch, 1 hour after launch, the capsule that had the Prometheus one inside was deployed into space. We call it an OTV, orbital transfer vehicle. So it was deployed into space. Then we needed to wait 1 week for safety reasons. So we needed to wait until the January 23rd for finally the Prometheus one to be deployed freely into space. That happened, and then kind of we didn't know what to expect. We were like praying that it will turn on and do all the good stuff. So we did the system check and antenna deployment, and we awaited contact. And by the end of that same day at night, we were able to do the first contact, and we were very excited to it. We were not expecting to get it right on the first day, but we get it. It was going through just on top of Portugal. It was very nice. We got some data, and it was here. Let me just. It was spinning. We get some data, and it was spinning so fast. That was the only thing that didn't go as planned. So when it was deployed, it was spinning at more than 1 rotation per second in one of the axes, and we had some issues kind of trying to slow it down. But still, it was still a successful mission because we got the telemetry data. We got the first contact. we got some data, and it kind of served as a learning tool for us, and we are kind of replicating these lessons within our classroom with our students. So this was the team to complete. This was the team. So myself, Pedro was the scholar that I hired at that time. He was doing his master degree with us. Zachary Manchester was the PI from Carnegie Mellon. Then Rodrigo Ventura and Rui Rocha from Técnico also assisted. And this is the story of Prometheus 1 in a very short time. Hopefully you got it and you enjoyed the story. At least I enjoyed it. Thank you, Inês. I don't know.
Yes, Alexandre,
Right.
so we really enjoyed it. So it's one of those projects from the CMU Portugal that we are very proud of. And especially because it's an exploratory project, and we know how hard it is most of the times to get something real measurable out of it, and you have a satellite that you can show. But I will like to ask you some questions. One of them is, well, if you had to give some advice, so this is not only a good piece of research and of huge impact, but if you had to give some advice of people who are willing to establish this kind of successful collaborators with Carnegie Mellon within the partnership, what would you suggest? Well, from both sides, from Portugal or even from Carnegie Mellon.
No. Our story started in a very interesting way. So I didn't know Zach before, so I was preparing my class materials, and I was looking for this kind of tool. I need a tool for my students to play within the classroom, and I was searching, and I came across Zach's work because he had developed a kind of a onboard computing board for CubeSats. And they said, "Oh, very interesting." And it was programmed in Python. I said, "Very interesting." So I texted him, and I think he was moving he was not at CMU, or he was moving into CMU at the time. Because he was not at CMU before. So it was like moving into CMU. And he replied to me and said, "Good." And we started to share contact. And then when I noticed that he was going to CMU, said, "Well, at CMU, we have the CMU Portugal Program." And said we could collaborate, and he was very open to it. And then it came, I remember it basically came because it was him. It was like, "Oh, we should build a satellite." I was like, "Oh no, that's impossible." I don't think you can do that. No, I did it before. It's a very small satellite. It's kind of, it fits on your hand. And I was like, "Oh, really?" So I was not completely fully aware of it. And then this journey started from that point when he challenged me. He said, "Let's build a satellite. We can do it. Yes, we can do it in 1 year." And I was like amazed with it. And then, it's always started. So sometimes I think we need to contact and to reach out to these people and be open-minded, because sometimes we can be challenged with some ideas that we never thought before. Or even we think that it's not reasonable or suitable for 1 year, and then it's possible, and it's amazing. And I think that it also fits very well in a kind of space, because space is always kind of you are always running against time, so we have a deadline. So it's kind of a T minus something, and you need to deliver this T minus. So kind of a very interesting space experience, to be honest, as well, in terms of this project, how we run it. So this is the story behind it, and so I encourage everyone to try to these contacts and be open to proposals that can be a little bit on the side, or kind of an updated version of what we initially thought, because I think sometimes they are very worth it. And as I say, these partnerships serve as catalysts. So I could do this by myself or with my teams, but it would take me much more time. So I could learn with them, and they also could learn how this process is done in Portugal. And we are still doing collaborations right now, and all in a very active and collaborative project. So I encourage to do this.
Thank you. So it all started with an email and with the
Yeah.
feedback that you got from Zach. That is quite nice. But just to add that we have the office in Portugal and in Pittsburgh, and that sometimes if some researchers want to get to some from one side to the other, sometimes we also facilitate that. Usually it's easier when the people involved already know the program, but sometimes when they don't, we can present them the program, and we have actually the collaboration at the end is what you were saying, that we could get there, but it would have taken us much more time, right? And one final point. Well, I have two questions, but at some point I will take you off because we have this commitment to have half an hour. So I have two questions more. One is about that you described the learn by doing. So I guess that this for the students was also something that was quite unique. And they get very enthusiastic when we give them the right thing to help them learn, I would say, but just to hear your reaction. And the other thing is that here you are only telling us about the good part, but we know that in a real project there are always things that do not work as we were expecting, and that is tough. But if you can just tell us one episode or so.
Yes, sure. So about learn by doing, I think is the best way today of learning, of a kind of a learning process for students. The experience, the hands-on experience, is quite interesting and is quite valuable. Because it's like I said, I can give this in a very theoretical way on a book, but the book is quite very straightforward, and these things not always are straightforward. They don't fit together. We fell for 1 millimeter of something. We did a little bit more of force when we were screwing a screw and things like that. And the feeling that you need is really important. So that's why hands-on is quite interesting. And my student kind of had like a very harsh time with it because it was very hard hands-on. And also he spent some time in CMU at CMU doing some research for the project as well. So we kind of send a student there, and they send a student from their side to our side to also teach us something. Yeah, so many times or at least when I present this project, many times we tend to focus on the physical object of the satellite. The problem is that to launch a satellite, you need you need a lot of much stuff, kind of paperwork, and we had a few episodes, and one of them is, for example, when you were to launch to sign the launch agreement. So we kind of acquire a service to launch the satellite. So there was what we call an LSA, launch service agreement, with a company. It was like 30 pages, and I couldn't sign myself, so I needed to ask the university to sign it. And so the first time they saw it, they said, "Oh, what is this?" Because it was 30 pages with a lot of liabilities and things like that, commitments, and so yeah, I need to launch a satellite. And our juridic and legal department kind of had to go through all that documentation, ask help for external legal departments, because this was the first time that we were facing such harsh agreement in terms of liability and commitments. Because when you pay, if you fail the deadline, you fail. So it's kind of we couldn't do that. And there's a lot of responsibility, insurance, because also the insurance, and now we do the insurance in Portugal for satellites. We are a research institution, so kind of the state, we are a public institution, so the state kind of waives the insurance, the states own the insurance. But this was also a new process in Portugal. So we got the third Portuguese license for space activities for a satellite. The first one was MH1, the second one was CSAT-1, and we got the third. So the process was quite new. Even the legislation was coming out while we were doing the project. So everything was happening at the same time. So engineering, legal departments, policy, things like that. So it was a very interesting time. I think it still is, to be honest.
a tough time, I would say. So just a final minute just to say, so how do you see the follow-up in terms of the partnership? So do you now have some students you already mentioned going to CMU, but maybe with the visiting students initiative or with the PhD programs, the affiliate or the double degree? So is this something that you consider or that you are already involved in?
No, definitely. I have other students on other topics. I have a student on a PhD affiliated program, so with the SMU on a different topic, but again with the SMU. I'm still in touch with Zach and with the team and with other teams on this subject, and we continue to talk. And I'm still using these partnerships, or at least these channels, to really explore these fields where many times they are way ahead of us in terms of research, and we need kind of a fast track, and they can really help us, and they can also learn us with us because we kind of have a very interesting ecosystem for them as well. So the kind of a symbiotic relationship when we can learn from each other, and that's a very positive way. So it's not competing. We are really engaged and working together. So that's very good.
Yes, so it's a real partnership, right? So that
It is.
is why we enjoy so much listening to these examples, and to think that it all started with an email. That means that everyone who is attending this session or who will see it on the web in the future can think, well, let me think about the email that can trigger a lot of things. So Alexandre, thank you so much. So stay tuned because we have other research unplugged sessions, but we think that we started in a wonderful way. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.